Welcome to Sports Scope, the most influential sports talk show in the nation.
What is today, the 19th?
Stay tuned for updates and great sports content.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to Sports Scope. I'm your host, Robert Butler, on this 10th day of October. Looks like Houston's in good shape. I noticed they took a 3-1 lead over Minnesota in the ALDS. Okay, got a great show tonight. Going to talk about last night's game. Just a few points there. The Patriots, if they can even be sellers, who could they actually sell off with the trade deadline looming up on Halloween? Coming up here in just a few weeks there, Pickles. Also, do my Power 5, and I tell you what, you guys are going to be really surprised at a team I slipped in that Power 5. And Justin Jefferson, now he's on injured reserve. It's starting to look bleak for the Minnesota Vikings. I've got another suggestion. That nobody's really talking about for Minnesota as a possible taker for Kirk Cousins. We'll get to all that. And just to hear in a second, let's go ahead and take our first and only break. And I'll be back here in 49 seconds here on Sports Scope. Hello, Sports Scope followers. The program has seen tremendous growth since going 5 days a week. I just wanted to thank everybody for your cash contributions and sharing the program with friends and families. Just a reminder, if you want to contribute to the program, go to the Cash App, the cash sign, and Sports Scope. There are other ways to contribute to the program listed at the bottom of the screen. If you want to advertise on the program, go to sports, that is sports with an S, another S, scope, SKOPE, at gmail.com, just like it's listed at the bottom of the screen. Thank you and enjoy the program. All righty then, about last night, right? A great win there for the Braves. Comeback win there at the very end. That last catch at the warning track and the I don't know if it was the pitcher. I think it was that picked up the ball and threw the Bryce Harper out, who should have tagged up. You know, Harper, not to get too much on the baseball stuff, but he ran through a stop sign last week and he scored. He's got a habit of not listening to coaches. I wonder if the manager says something to him privately about that, because basically he just gave up a free out to the Braves. But it was a good heads-up win there for the Braves. Was it Wednesday? I want to say they go back to Philadelphia. I'm sure my friend, the Philly sports guy, will be in there making a lot of noise with a lot of paint on his face there. Jamie Pags. Also tomorrow, folks, do not miss tomorrow, 30 minutes past the hour. Going to bring on Keith Engel. He from TGI Sports. Keith is really in tune with the New England Patriots. I'm going to get his opinion. As if he were Robert Kraft, the owner of this team, what would he do? And I want to credit Keith, who's also, he was high on Oklahoma from the get-go. And I'm just curious, where did he come up with that analysis now that Oklahoma has beat Texas? We'll talk a little college tomorrow. Definitely we'll get into that. I'll get into that Georgia Tech-Miami game. Miami just Cristobal and the offensive coordinator, they owned it. Should have took the knee. Sometimes you can't get too cute. Don't get too don't outsmart yourself. Sometimes you just got to keep it to the basics there, folks. Pickle says crazy double play to end the game. Yeah. You know something, if that was to win the World Series, that would have been possibly the greatest double play of all time. But it was a heck of a way to end the game. Kudos to the Braves. But hey, you know, a bigger kudos to Philadelphia. I mean, this team had the Braves shut out for 14 straight innings. So the Braves are going to have their hands full with Philadelphia. But we'll see how it ends. I mean, maybe that woke the Braves up. Sometimes when you got that bye week, folks, it kind of hurts your moment. I noticed in football, and I noticed the Braves had some days off because they didn't have to play the first series. And now they're just getting their timing back. They're getting up to the speed and intense level that felt, and maybe that little run they went on towards the end of the game, maybe that'll propel them. But I have noticed that sometimes the little time off can hurt your timing just a little bit, just a little outside observation. Okay, let's go back to the pigskin. All right, now Jordan Love. You couldn't love what Jordan Love did last night. 0 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. Rob Demoska. And I think that's it. Demvuska. The guy's been covering the Packers for 100 years, it seems like. He put this out last night, according to ESPN Stats and Information. He said Jordan Love tonight was not the only quarterback the Packer quarterback in the last 20 seasons to have 0 touchdowns and 3 interceptions. Brett Hundley in 2017. Brett Favre did it twice. 2006 and 2005, and some guy named Scott Tolozin, and 2013. Rough night. You know something, that's what life is like when you've got your typical average quarterback in this league. I'm in Nashville. People talk to me about Ryan Tannehill all the time. And when you start getting left tackles out, which Bakhtiari, I think he's done for the season. Bakhtiari may be done for the career. And no Aaron Jones, no speedy running back. I'm not a big fan of A.J. Dillon. I don't think he has the explosiveness to really help this young man out. Plus, I mean, that Christian Watson, man, you got to score there in the third quarter, man. I don't see how they missed that. I know that there was a heck of a play. Green Bay gets down. There was a horse collar. You line up and you do the quarterback sneak in there and you get the touchdown. I don't know how that turned into a field goal. That was a bad set of play calls there. But it just is what it is. You have to build more around. The worse your quarterback is, the more you have to put around him. Okay. And that's what it is. That's what it is in this league, and I talked about the top 10 quarterbacks, and I didn't think that Dak Prescott was the top 10 quarterback. I mean, you could debate that amongst yourselves all you want to, but most of the teams in this league would trade their quarterback in for a talent upgrade in a minute, and Green Bay is no different. They can't get too aggressive about things. They're not a free agent destination, not unless you have a all-world Brett Favre type of quarterback. When they made the big acquisition to get Reggie White or an Aaron Rodgers, but Rodgers wasn't quite the salesman then that a Brett Favre was. So. They have to be really patient. They have to draft guys. They got to develop guys. And I understand that can be frustrating. He has done some good things. Jordan Love, talking about Jordan Love. But when you start having people out, this is what you're going to get. And on the flip side, I'm always pounding the Raiders. And I will say this. The Raiders defense has improved. They're 14th in total yards in defense. Now, for the Raiders, that is a big improvement. They're normally towards the bottom third. They're normally about what Minnesota is now. That's the normal Raider team. Tyree Wilson's getting his legs. That's the defensive end they drafted out of Texas Tech, which was a really good edge rusher there. He had high hopes coming out of college. A lot of people. He came up in a lot of mock drafts. I thought, for example, that maybe a Seattle would have taken him at 5. They got Devin Witherspoon. They liked their guy. He got a pick 6 against Daniel Jones last Monday night. But you put him and Mason Crosby together, Max Crosby together. They got a little. They're still a little weak in the back end there. Not really strong at safety and middle linebacker. Still a little weak there, but there is some improvement there for the Raiders. So technically, the Raiders are in it. I mean, believe it or not. I say it with the foul taste, and so that's Monday night. When I saw it, I thought, man, this would have been a great game about 20 years ago, Pickles, when Rich Gannon was playing. Brett Favre, Raiders and Packers, or when Favre's dad died, and all the intensity on and the players going out and just Favre balling out, multiple touchdowns, players going out of. But man, that game right there was just a total. Just looking into it, I thought, man, what a bad game! Wow, I'm sure the league wish they can throw this one back. Flex this one back out. Let's put this one on like a Thursday night on Amazon. Put Amazon Prime somewhere. But anyways, it is what it is. Okay. Where should I go now? Dun, 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 dun. Okay, now there's been a lot of talk today, and you know what? My condolences to the Justin Jefferson, switching gears here. Fantasy owners here, it looks like probably a lot of your first overall pick if you're drafting fantasy. Jefferson is going to be out a while. Vikings are expected to place him on the IR, which means he's going to be expected to miss at least the next 4 games. Okay, and I'll tell you what. And now that you got your leading receiver out, okay, and now all the floodgates have opened. Okay, all the floodgates have opened about. Of course, they're 1-4. I said this. I mean, this is not news if you got a guy like me who's an honesty broker. I can't remember who it was. But I sure would like to find out it was one of those ESPN. That's why I say tune in to Sports Scope. One of those ESPN clowns said that the Vikings are going to win a Super Bowl this year. I don't know if it was Mike Greenberg, but it was one of those clowns on ESPN. I swear, you got to start doing drug testing now, okay? But they said that, and I said, no way. 11 one-score games. You got Kirk Cousins as your quarterback. You've got rid of the defensive players. Your defense was getting old last year. They couldn't hardly stop a nosebleed last year. Now they definitely couldn't stop a nosebleed this year, even though they got a new defensive coordinator and got any personnel. So anyways, going back to what I was saying earlier. Okay, Kirk Cousins. In a nutshell, Kirk Cousins is in the last year of his contract, okay? He's making about $30 million, but we're 5 games into that. The Vikings, the NFL works out. The team pays you every Tuesday morning, according to Jim Jeffcoat, former NFL player. Every Tuesday morning, you get that paycheck, all right? So this guy gets a check, Pickles, for about $1.7 million every Tuesday. So that's why, that pretty wife of his is usually in a good mood. I watch the Netflix. He's a great guy. I'm a Christian person too. I'm of faith. He's a nice guy. According to Jim Jeffcoat, he said he knew some people that knew Kurt. He says he's more of a one of those guys, leave it to Beaver, which is before my time, that he'll tell you what you want to hear when you want to hear it. But I think there's some genuineness to Kirk Cousins. I think he's a pretty good guy. Yada, yada, yada. Okay. But this idea that you're just going to throw him into a system in the middle of the season is really hard to do. Okay. But this team's 1-4. Jefferson's going to be out for 4 more weeks. So the Kirk Cousins has a no trade clause on his contract. So I could not see the Jets doing it. The Jets still have money they owe to Aaron Rodgers. It just wouldn't make a lick of sense. That being said, the There's another team out there that it would make a lot of sense that they do have an offensive-minded head coach, Pickles, but they do have pieces on defense. They are in a weak division. They do have a winning record. They do have a coach whose seat is getting a little hot. They're much more south of Minnesota. It would be an ideal place. I could sell Kirk Cousins and his wife, Mrs. Cousins, and the kids, the Cousinettes, to coming into. All right. And that would be Atlanta. All right. Desmond Ridder cannot win on the road. All right. When Desmond Ridder plays, and we're talking a few games last year into a handful of games this year, the Atlanta Falcons fans that are being truthful, you're holding your breath. You're holding, I mean, this guy's got so many talented skill players. Drake London, elite route runner, one of the best, most highly coveted tight ends since, I don't know, Jeremy Shockey, Greg Olsen, and this Kyle Pitts kid. Was a second, third-year player out of University of Florida. A highly touted Bijan Robertson, who caught the ball behind his back. I know a lot of you may have seen this on the internet. Bijan Robertson caught the ball behind his back because this guy couldn't even drop a screen pass, right? Pulls it in front of him, spins, and scores. Okay, so if you think about it, Mike Florio saying Minnesota wouldn't give up on him if they didn't offer a first-round pick, and I'm saying why? The guy's going to be 35 years old. You've already done this experiment with two coaches now. With two coaches. Remember, this is the second, what's his name, O'Connell. And then you had, I can't remember the other guy's name. It means no, never mind. The defensive-minded guy that came over from Cincinnati. Mike Zimmer. You've already had two coaches up there in Minnesota. You've done the $90 million guarantee thing. He's set for life, okay? So would I, as an Atlanta Falcon, if I'm Arthur Smith and I'm saying, man, we got 3 wins and 2 losses. That defense, by the way, it's a time and a half. They're not all world by no means, but they're a time and a half better than Minnesota this year. They are, I want to say they're 7th in yards. And mind you, I just mentioned the fact 32nd easiest schedule in the league the Falcons have. Okay. And they're about 7th in total. So they have a defense. Arthur Smith, offensive-minded head coach, not a kind of guy. If you can coach Mariota, a non-communicator, and get him up and going, you can throw in a package for a guy like a Kirk Cousins and pull it off. I'm not a big fan of this whole idea. I'm really not a big fan of it. Bringing in a quarterback mid-season. Don't get me wrong. I'm not that type of fan. But that being said, if I'm Arthur Smith, if I'm the management up there in Atlanta or down there in Atlanta, I'm thinking to myself, okay, Jimmy Garoppolo was traded from the New England Patriots on Halloween Day in 2017. And that 49er team under Kyle Shanahan, they went on a run towards the end of the season. He played so well, the very next season they gave him a $100 million plus contract. And we know what happened after that. They went to the Super Bowl. Now, if it wasn't for his injury problems, he would still be there. But he caught on to their system pretty quick. With Bijan Robertson, with Arthur Smith can work with a guy like Mariota and Tannehill. I think he can probably put something in quick enough to get a Kirk Cousins. Would you give him a 3rd-round pick, Minnesota, and say if he plays so many snaps, if he plays, say you pick him up around middle of the season, say he plays more than 7 games. He starts more than 7 games, and they make the playoffs. If they make the playoffs, if they make the playoffs, that could go to a second round pick. All right, and then maybe a future third round, or if he doesn't, it would be a fourth round, third round pick with a future third or fourth round, something of that nature. He's not going to get a big first round pick because they're going to have to possibly extend this guy. But if you're Minnesota and you really don't think he's going to come back at 35, you're not going to get anything for him, and you're losing right now. This team is not going to go anywhere. They're 1-4. Detroit's the best team there. I don't think they can beat a healthy Green Bay team. They might be able to savage out some wins against Chicago. Okay. So, I mean, what are you there for? And like I said before, and you won't hear this from nobody here but me on Sports Gold. I know he's hurt right now, but Justin Jefferson is going to want $30 million plus. He's going to want $30 million plus. He's coming up on a contract year. Okay. He's a great player. He doesn't seem like a diva type of guy. You could get 3 first-round picks, I think, for Jefferson. He's arguably the best player, best receiver in the game. There's a sucker born every day. He's in his prime. He's coming in. And you say, well, what about Devontae Adams didn't get that much? No. Tyreek Hill did. Yes. Devontae, pretty good. Those were old. Those players were into their second contract. This guy's coming off his first contract. A.J. Brown got a first-round pick. Trayvon Burks now feel like Tennessee could have got more than A.J. Brown. But Justin Jefferson, you could get 3 first-round picks for him. So if you traded Jefferson, you don't necessarily have to trade him to Atlanta. But if you traded a Jefferson to whoever, like a Kansas City would probably, but then again, they probably wouldn't because they got rid of Tyreek. But that would be almost be unfair for the rest of the league, right? But some sucker out there would give you 3 first-round picks for Justin Jefferson. Especially, I've talked about this last week, if they had a quarterback on a rookie contract. Look how good C.J. Stroud looks. He would probably love to go back down south. He went to school at Louisiana State. Houston's not too far from LSU. You know, if he went with Stroud, now Titans fans don't want to hear this because it'd be torching Titans fans. So if he went to Stroud, by the way, still has not thrown an interception. That dude still hasn't thrown. He almost threw one the other day. Speaking of Atlanta, did find a way to win that game. But can you imagine C.J. Stroud throwing to Jefferson? I mean, he's turned out to be a really good quarterback. Even though we're talking just a handful of games, he's picking up quick. He's reminding me of Justin Herbert. But you have, I think Houston will come off them picks. Now they don't have a first round next year, but I say that's fine. Give me 25 and 26. Give me your second round this year, or you give me 2 picks this year. You know. Carolina needs a receiver, like my dad would say, Chad, like a hog needs slaw. You know, they would love to get a Justin Jefferson. You could get 3 first-round picks for. I'm telling you, folks. But as far as Atlanta would be the ideal place. There was talks that maybe Atlanta would work out something for Kyler Murray. Maybe they can get Russell Wilson. But his stock is down now. Wilson's is. So it's I would rather get something for Kirk Cousins and then rather than have nothing, you know. Like I said, this is a sports talk show. It's food for thought. I'm our chair general manager, man. The money's good. His contract is void. He'll be 35. Now, I'm not giving him no 5-year contract. He can forget that. I would probably maybe work out a 2-year incentive-based contract, give him a pretty good signing bonus or his family moved out. I would much rather live in Atlanta, Georgia than Minneapolis, Minnesota, even though the people up there are pretty cool. I just don't want to freeze to death, man. Just food for thought, folks. Okay, so tomorrow, again, I will have Keith Engel on. I'm going to ask him about the Patriots. All right. And So 98.5, thesportshub.com. I guess this is a radio station. All right. So I was looking this up. This guy named Alex Barf. And I don't know if that's his real last name. But that's what it says. Maybe he was changed his last name to Barf because he's looking the way the Patriots have been playing here lately would make you want to barf if you've been so spoiled and watching those Tom Brady days. They were shut out again last Sunday. All right. And, switching gears, by the way, to the Patriots. Okay, so they were beat at home to the average Saints team. And by the way, they were favored at the beginning of that game, Pickles. Yeah, they were favored by 1.5 at home and got beat 34-0. And I'm going to ask, again, Keith Engel about this tomorrow. They have lost 71-3 the last two games. They have a potential. They play by the way, I just mentioned Vegas is playing much better defense. Who's to say they're not going to lose to Vegas? I mean, do you trust the Patriots to beat anybody right now? I don't know if I trust them to beat Arizona right now with their lack of offensive efficiencies. I'm serious. I'm not exaggerating. I'm not being hyperbolic. I'm just saying it. I'm just calling it like I see it, man. They're another team that could be 1-6. They could be sellers at the trade deadline. Their offensive line's now a problem. This Dante Scarnecchia, he's retired. Keith Engel's talked about this guy. He's a legendary offensive line coach. Been there for a long time. He's done now, and it's starting to show. And, at this point, things are so bad in New England that listen to this list, folks. None of these people are going to knock your socks off. So this is the opposite of the trade value of a Jefferson. Okay. So this writer goes on and says, listen, the trade deadline, Halloween, 4:00 Eastern. And here it is, the 10th. So we'll be 3 weeks from today, 17/24. Yeah. 17/24/31. 3 weeks exactly from today here after week 8. And it says, will the Patriots be buyers and sellers? And you got players like Kendrick Bourne, this writer mentioned here. And I thought to myself, this was an off receiver, a throwaway player from the 49ers that just could not get caught up in their offense. And you could see how well crafted their offense is with Kyle Shanahan. And so you got players like him. Now, Hunter Henry would be the most valuable player to be traded. And it's nothing of what Henry has been able to produce despite issues around him. This guy said he has 17 catches, 176 yards, and 2 touchdowns. You know what would be a selling point for Henry is the fact that he was so successful with the Chargers years ago. And he's been relatively, in air quotes, he's been relatively healthy. You might, if a Travis Kelce continues to get injured, which they're saying he may or may not play Thursday, you might get a 3rd-round pick out of a Kansas City. Holmes would love to throw to a Hunter Henry, who the Chiefs have seen in that division for years. Andy Reid has seen. They got plenty of tape on Hunter Henry. And then you've got guys like Trent Brown. This writer says, Brown had his worst game of the year against the Saints after a strong start. If the team keeps losing, he keeps sliding with contending a team to view him as a player who could bounce back with a change of scenery. I almost felt like the writer's being sarcastic. So that's your offensive tackle, Trent Brown. Maybe Josh Uch. I don't know. This is a linebacker. You might have a little bit more. This guy named Cal Duggar. You might have a little bit more leeway at their defensive players, but their last defensive player that they lost in free agency that I can remember was J.C. Jackson, who went to the L.A. Chargers and got roasted. They benched the guy. They benched him. I want to say they benched him, cut him, or I think they cut him. I want to say that they cut him and then New England picked him up, or did they trade for him or whatever. Either way, he's back with New England, but he was terrible as a free agent. But Cal Dodger's not too bad. But these guys are not. None of these players are going to knock your socks off. You know, I mean, the talent is so depleted up there in Foxborough right now that it's almost inedible. And you got guys like Dominique Foxworth on Get Up saying, I don't see how any Bill Belichick would listen to Robert Kraft if he's saying that, hey, I got you these Super Bowl rings. And then, I can't remember. Jeff Saturday, who's back on the program now. Remember, he had his short stint with the Indianapolis Colts as their coach there last year in the middle of the season. He's like, yeah, but you gotta talk to him straight. You got to talk to him straight. Say, hey, look, coach, we're getting killed out here. It's not like it's one thing for Belichick to convert a defensive coordinator who's won't know anything about offense into an offensive coordinator to a young quarterback in his second year and expect it to be successful. That is total just delusional. I mean, you talk about a guy that's believing his own hype, and I love Belichick, man. I really do. I think that he was a big part of those championships. But as I mentioned last week on this program, that I couldn't find a general manager. When you look on website after website, you type in general manager, New England, you're going to see Bill Belichick, man. One website had Robert Kraft's son as the president, but it didn't say anything about manager or scouting. They had an actual general manager there, and I can't remember the guy's name, about 12 years ago, 12, 13, 14. And that was about when they stopped really drafting really good skill players, but they have to get a real general manager. I mean, it's so bad they don't even have any players to fire sale with. Maybe trade Mac Jones or somebody, think they could do something with him. I know Dan Orlovsky said the other day, he thinks if Mac Jones went to I don't know if I necessarily agree with this. He said if Jones went to the 49ers, he would be like Brock Purdy. I'm not so sure about that. Jones does seem a little hard-headed, not necessarily a sponge like a Purdy or a Tom Brady or whatnot. But, Pickle says they have problems that their pass rush. Now, Judon would be a guy you could probably pawn off. Now, he's hurt, though. But Gonzalez, he's a rookie contract guy. He seems like a really good player. They had Stephon Gilmore. He's no longer a Patriot. I mean, those are players that would really, really stand out, But Smith-Schuster, he's still on the roster. Would you want to trade him after signing him 1 year? Possibly. I don't know if anybody would want him or Parker. It's just not the level. And before everybody was getting, remember when Tom Brady was there, the Titans would get 2 or 3 Patriot players a year, man. We had a running back down here one time. Going back to Jeff Fisher, they had David Gibbons. We thought he was going to save the world. And Anton Jameson or Johnson or whatever, running back here. And none of these guys really fit in other systems, They've had some good ones. Now, Brewski would fit in anywhere. But that was back when they had actual general managers. As they went along, that talent started to fall off, Laura Malloy, that was all during that Parcells, Belichick transition era where they had a real general manager. And then you started seeing Belichick pick off players from other teams that were considered head cases, malcontents. Corey Dillon was considered a malcontent, like Garrett Blunt. Garrett Blunt punched a guy out in college in a game I saw the game, Oregon player, bounced around the league, got in trouble smoking blunts with the Steelers. They thought he was a bad influence on Le'Veon Bell, so he picks him up for nothing. He turns out to be a pretty good Corey Dillon, somewhat of a malcontent, but you can understand he was with a bad Cincinnati team. Things didn't work out. They had Aaron Hernandez on that team, but they also got guys like Gronk, and they did pick up Edelman. But Brady he covered all that sin up, Made me think about going to church, covered all the sins up, all the bad. He covered all those eyesores up with his great play. And Belichick being a great defensive-minded coach here, the defense was solid. The defensive people fed off Brady. And when they brought in a Randy Moss for, 20 minutes, he did well. When they got a Wes Welker over from a Miami Dolphin team, they did well, But it's pretty bad when you really have to scramble. So that's something I'm going to bring up to Keith Fengle. And not to repeat myself, but again, Antonio Brown. Yeah. And you know what, Chad? That Antonio Brown move cost them about $20 million in dead money. That cost them about 20. That was a knee-jerk reaction. They should not have done that. I looked that up the other day, and that really gutted the Patriots, man. That gutted them, that Antonio Brown move. But Pickles says they need an exorcist. Yeah, it's no, I think they simply, you have to sit down with Bill. I saw him the other day. He looks 10 years older. Well, losing can do something to you. I was listening to his typical press conference. Yep, that's what I said. Yep, we got to play better in every facet of the game. What part? Well, every part. He's on the Cincinnati, right, Pickles? So he gives you those simple answers here. But if you had to ask me, okay, say, Bill, first of all, we're going to get a real general manager. Second of all, yes or no, do you want to move on off of Mac Jones? Okay? Because this looks like we're going to have a good pick here. There's a lot of good quarterbacks here. Do you want to move off Mac Jones? If he says yes, okay, we'll move off Mac Jones. We're going to have good picks here. They're going to have cap space. You can start over that way. I would just hate to see his career end with the Patriots like this. I just would hate to see that. And but once they got a real general manager, probably move on from Jones, because remember, Mac Jones went outside the organization. Bill just doesn't like the guy. They don't get along really well. There's some stuff that Mac Jones has get irritated myself. He's dirty shots, kicking accusations, and if you look at the tape, it looks pretty legit to me. Kicking players in the groin and stuff like that. He comes off as a spoiled kid that came from Alabama who had it made throughout college and thought it was going to be that easy in the pros. Not so fast, right? May get another shot with a good offensive. Maybe he goes to Atlanta. I don't know. For God's sake, who knows? But that's all these are conversations. If they're not talking about it, folks, they're thinking about it up there in Foxborough. And I'm going to bring this up tomorrow to Keith Fengle and get his feel for that as well. And plus, he still wants to get Shula's record. That's a good point, Pickles. There's a few more years left. He still wants to get that record. I'd like to see him get it. I like the guy. He was born in my hometown here in Nashville. I've seen a lot of documentaries on him, and I just Bill Belichick. I still trust. I just don't like Bill Belichick. I don't like Bill Belichick, the general manager. Okay, Baltimore, Pittsburgh. Baltimore seemed to be okay offensively when they were up 10-3. Let me say this. Lamar Jackson's came a long way since he was drafted back in, when was he drafted? 18, I want to say. He was drafted in 18. Baker Mayfield. He's a better player than Mayfield. Sam Darnold. He's a better player than Sam Darnold. Josh Allen, not so much. Josh Allen, a much better player. But I'll say this. Jackson, when he had to throw, I noted in that game, he got sacked and fumbled, and he threw a pick in the end zone to Joey Porter. Okay, so not to say I told you so about that, because listen, Pittsburgh did the same thing to Deshaun Watson. I'm a big Deshaun Watson guy. They get away with nip and tuck stuff, but he's trying to play quarterback now instead of that offense. And you could see him forcing Beckham. Man, that's $15 million. You're never going to get that $15 million back, Pickles. I do like what they did with Zay Flowers, or was it? Yeah. Zay Jones. I keep getting that guy's name mixed up. The rookie out of Boston College. He's been a pretty good pickup so far. I'll have to get – Bateman's been hurt. Bateman was great in college, man. That guy from second-year, third-year player out of Minnesota. And, of course, you got Andrews, who's rock solid at tight end. But when he had to throw, a fumble and interception, and I feel like this is going to be what it is. And, you know, the media, nobody else is going to touch this. They're going, well, because you can't blame it. They got a new offensive coordinator. Remember your other offensive coordinator? He was holding Lamar back, you know, and maybe Lamar does get better. But from when, you know, it's easy when you're up and it's easy to make passes, but when you need to throw, I didn't see that there. That being said, Pittsburgh has a way of making things happen with their pass rush like no other. But that was just an observation from that game. Great game. They played Tennessee in London this week. And I don't know how that's going to turn out. I don't know. I mean, if Tennessee's healthy, I think Tennessee can win. If they've got Tier Tart back, who got hurt, and Jeffrey Simmons, but if they don't have them two, he'll be able to run around some and make some plays downfield. That will be an interesting game. Both teams probably should have won their games, Baltimore and Tennessee, on Sunday. Just an observation. Let's get to the power. Still wondering the Ravens lost. Pickle said, I don't know, man. The Steelers have a way of doing stuff. They make special teams plays, defensive plays, you name it. Okay, let's talk Power 5 here. I got one that's really going to throw you guys off here. You're going to be a little bit surprised. So I like to go backwards. I like to go from the 5th all the way up to the top here. And I woke up this morning like 4 something, right? 4 o'clock in the morning, couldn't go back to sleep. And I thought, you know what? I should prepare for the program. You know, if I'm tired and I'll take a nap later, I should go ahead and prepare. So I started writing this stuff down. And at first I put my top 5 team as the 2-loss Dallas team because their wins, they've been so dominant. Then I'm driving, I'm thinking to myself, you know something? Now, Detroit they're the only team to beat Kansas City this year at Kansas City with Andy Reid. Even though I know that Travis Kelce didn't play, I know that Chris Jones didn't play, but you got to look at it this way. All summer, Andy Reid, Patrick Mahomes, Super Bowl MVP, former MVP, and you're the little old Detroit Lions here. You go on the road and beat them, the chances that's pretty slim and none, you know. So, and they should be 5-0. Taylor Decker got hurt in that second game. Unforeseen injury there. They had just a slew of injuries just before that Seattle game. And they had that game. At one point, they had that game won. And Seattle just pulled it out. You know, Pete Carroll pulled a rabbit out of his hat. But they're 4-1. You know, they've only got one loss here. They blew out Carolina last week. They're my guess, I think they got a 2-game lead in that division. You look at the player, Jared Goff. They had one of their running backs, Jahmyr Gibbs was down. They had Montgomery, still no problem. No problem. Top 5 offensive line in the league. Defensive line playing much better. Aiden Hutchinson getting a lot of hype there. Not playing, because he's in Detroit, he's not quite getting the plug of a bigger name brand team like a Steelers or a Dallas Cowboy team, but he's playing really well, and their draft picks have really hit their ballots. They're getting used to winning. So yeah, I've got Detroit as my 5th best team in the league. Okay. I just mentioned Kansas City. Number 4, Kansas City. Now, the Chiefs, they're still trying to find out. They've got 2 big road wins here, okay? Desperate Minnesota team, really good, desperate New York Jet team that intercepted Mahomes twice. They still stood their ground, though. The Jets were really they had a chance to win that game. They were up at one time, but they didn't. They went on the road from Kansas City to New York, played on Sunday night, went back to Kansas City, then flew up to Minnesota, won up there. And they've got some injuries here and there of their own. Mahomes is still trying to find that receiver. Maybe they, Techno Music or whatever, asked me about them possibly getting a wide receiver in the trade deadline. They would be a possible buyer there. They got this Rice guy, rookie. They got Scott Moore, second-year player. Kadarius Toney's got dropsies, but Toney, I still think there's some faith there in Toney. He's taken a liking to these running backs, all 3 of them. Mahomes, he's going to eventually find something with one of those wide receivers if they don't go out and get one, per se. But if you look at their defense, you look at their middle linebacker play, Chris Jones there. I would get them at number 4. It's hard to beat Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes. By the way, they play Philadelphia again here in a couple of weeks on Monday Night Football. Both teams, Pickles, will be off a bye week. That'll be a great game. Cannot wait to see that one, that rematch here. Okay, number 3, Miami. Miami has the best offense in the league by 100 yards over the team in second. No team has had that differential. And now, of course, Miami's starting to get some injuries now. Achane, our guy there, Pickles, he's Devon Achane, rookie, taking the league by storm. Now, he's hurt, maybe out 4 weeks. Still got Raheem Mostert there. They got a left tackle. Armstead's been out. And they're still rolling people. Now they haven't played the Giants, who's really bad defensively. They're going to get better defensively. Hopefully they'll get Achane back sooner than later, because Mostert, he can't stay healthy. Maybe they pick up another back there off the waiver wires in Miami. But listen, Vic Fangio, that defense is going to get better. And at some point, they're going to get Jalen Hurts back, maybe late November, around the 1st of December. So Miami's really good. And I think they're going to get better. They're going to get better. Like I said before, they still need to lean in that running game. You can't have this big – once this weather starts to change, you can't have that big time. You can't depend on – you can have it, you can't depend on it. I think it will, though. I really do. I think it will. He got hurt. Master will be taking up the slack. That would be a good little fantasy note. So I've got Miami at 3. Number 2, Philadelphia can win. They can win slow. They can win playing fast. They can win somewhere in the middle. Those long drives. Best offensive line in football. A lot of cohesion there on their offensive line. Jalen Carter, Defensive Rookie of the Year, playing like a beast. I'm reading something different about Jalen Carter every week. Even though they've had their share of injuries, defensively, that defensive line is still pretty good. Really good. Okay? Still really good. They got a steal with this guy. Still arguably the best offensive line, best defensive line. They're undefeated. They're pressed. They're still getting used to the new offensive coordinator, Jalen Hurts. They're adjusting on the fly. So I got them. They're, by the way, second in total yards offensively. So Dallas Goedert, he's getting back involved in the offense against. I think I mentioned him last week. Actually, I mentioned him on the Mac and Jack and Jim Jeffcoat show as a good possible fantasy player. Had about 6-7 catches and a touchdown here from Goedert. A lot of time to throw and players to throw to, and you've got a real even kill quarterback. That's a recipe for success in this league. Now, again, speaking of Philadelphia, I just mentioned the fact that they're going to play. I thought I had their schedule here, folks. But I'll say this. They have a schedule like nobody's business coming up here. I mean, these guys got to play. Let's see if I can find it. They have to play the 49ers. They got to play Kansas City. They still got to play Dallas twice. This is not the 32nd easiest schedule they had. So really, they've got about a 7-game stretch you're going to find out. And that's where I said I didn't think maybe Dallas could catch them in that division, even though Dallas shouldn't have. I had Dallas losing to the 49ers in the preseason, but man, you just can't lose to Arizona. Dallas get a chance to make up for it. I think they play the Chargers, and I think they play the Chargers too, but the Chargers are beatable because they got so many holes in their defense. But they're going to earn it this year. Philadelphia will earn it this year, folks. It's not going to be easy. And, of course, last but not least, the 49ers. I mean, they scored more points on Dallas than any of the 4 teams combined. I mentioned that yesterday. They're third in total offense and no defense, other than Buffalo, however. They're in the top 5 in both categories. I'll say this. I think that this defense, I could be wrong here, but so far, we're only 5 games in. This defense for the 49ers is better, Pickles. It's better than last year's defense. And you say, why is that? Is it Hargrave at the middle? Is it the scheme that DeMeco Ryans was doing? Remember last year, DeMeco Ryans and that defense? Look what Patrick Mahomes did to that defense last year. Look what he did. Man, when he played the 49ers on a 3 o'clock, it's 3 Eastern, 3 Central, that 4 o'clock game in the middle of the season, they put 44 points on that defense. They haven't even gave up. I think they gave up 23 at the very end. Sean McVay kicked the field goal. Some was saying just to beat the spread. They gave up 23 to the Rams, and that's it. I mean, they ain't beat people. They're destroyed. They destroyed the Giants. They destroyed the Cowboys 42-10. Nobody had that coming, saw that coming there. So, Julian Edelman made a good point. He was on the Colin Cowherd show Monday. He said, only issue I would have with the 49ers is peaking too early. And that's what I was talking to you all about on this program yesterday, is they're going to have to pace themselves. I don't know about load management, but maybe you want to do some load management with Christian McCaffrey. Maybe you pick up an extra running back somewhere. Give somebody else some carries. There's running backs out there. You could find them. Maybe they got some on the bench. That Sherman guy, I think Trey Sherman's still with them. Means no, never mind. It doesn't matter who you put out there. But I would start limiting my touches with McCaffrey. I would still play. If you play not to get hurt and you rest starters, that works against you. I'm not a big fan of that. But that being said, and that's what and if you're a 49ers fan, you want Philadelphia to keep winning. Because remember, Philadelphia put you out. You don't want that game played in Philadelphia. You want it played in Santa Clara, okay? You want that NFC Championship game played in Santa Clara. So if you're if I'm John Lynch and Kyle Shanahan, I'm thinking, man, I hope Philly keeps winning, man. And then when we meet them, we beat them. But in the back of you want them to keep that team, have that competitive edge. You don't want to get too far out in front too soon, Pickles. And they're a loaded team. Yeah, they're a loaded team. They've got plenty of cap space. If they needed to make a move here in the trade deadline, they could. You know, if Samuel had a nagging injury and there was a problem there, they could go out and get one of those receivers. They could get KJ Osborne from Minnesota or somebody like that. I mean, they could technically go out and get Jefferson, but I wouldn't do that because then you're spending way too much money on skill players when you've already got Brandon Ayuk. And I think Ayuk's still on his rookie contract. Kittle had 3 touchdowns. They're paying him a lot of money. They just paid their Nick Bosa, just paid him a lot of money. But, hey, you know, you got Brock Purdy. You got Brock Purdy on a rookie, pretty good team-friendly contract. That dude be sleeping at the Mission on that 7th-round contract living in Santa Clara, Northern California. It's so expensive to live in there. Just kidding. Yeah, just kidding. He should be all right, though. And he's happy. I'm sure he, 7th round pick out of Iowa State. I'd be happy as a pig in crap, like my dad would say. Corey, thank you, man. Appreciate it, buddy. Yeah, Corey, I tell you what, man, that Boston team, I was watching some preseason NBA, and I'll tell you, that Celtic team with Porzingis, I mean, I just watched a few plays, but they look like they can move that ball. There was some fluidity. Now, that's going to be a team that I normally never watch the NBA at the beginning of the season. But I'm curious to see what Damian Lillard looks like with the group he's got there with Giannis, how they're going to play him. They're going to play that inside-outside game, like I said, Jamal Murray and the Jokers will play, or they're going to try to do something else. Hopefully they'll play that game and not you get a bucket, I get a bucket. Let's don't do the Russell Westbrook, Kevin Durant thing. But I really like that little bit of preview I saw there with the Celtics. That looked good, man. They look like a team to beat. They look like the team that maybe should be favored. Of course, it's early. Maybe I'll get Jeffrey Devskivit back on the program sometime next week and get his thoughts on that particular trade. Speaking of basketball, because the NBA season is coming up pretty soon here. I know they're in training camp now in the next few weeks. Folks, if you like the show, share the show. Please share the show. We got to build the show. Accidentally deleted. I was deleting those shows. I deleted yesterday's show. I was wanting to get a clip from it to do marketing, but maybe I'll get a few from this one. And, of course, I'll definitely get a few with Keith Engel tomorrow, who will be on the program. He's always a great going to talk some college. Going to get Keith Engel's take there on this Patriot team, if he were Robert Kraft. All right, man. Thanks, Corey. Have a good night, everybody. Great crowd. I'll see you tomorrow, same time, same place, here on Sports Scope.